Alright, welcome to lesson 5-3 video 2, and we're going to talk about factoring out the GCF. Okay, so recall lessons 4-1 and 5-2. We've covered how to graph a quadratic that is in factored form as well as how to solve them. But what if the equation is given to you in a different form? What if you don't have a nice pretty factor that can be set equal to 0? So in this lesson we're going to show you how to factor a quadratic equation and then be able to use those skills from lesson 4-1 and 5-2. So first thing I want us to look at is that if we have an expression, for example here I have 4x squared times y, 4x squared y, the factors would be 4, x squared because of x, and y. Okay, those are those numbers that are being multiplied. And then if I had this expression here, x minus 2 times x plus 3, our factors are x minus 2 and x plus 3. So make sure you write this in your notes. Factoring is the process of breaking down algebraic expressions into the most simplified form of all its factors. So to factor a quadratic expression, it means to write it as the product of two linear expressions, kind of like this right here. So you have a linear expression and a linear expression. So let's see some examples here. And then, well, before we look at example 3, let's put this in your notes here. So no matter what strategy you use, you will always want to look for the GCF first, and you need to factor that out before proceeding with other strategies. Okay, so here are the different steps that we have. So the first step is to find the GCF of all of the terms. So for our example here, example number 1, or example number 3, we have 6x squared plus 2x. Okay, so we have 6x squared and we have 2x. We want to factor out the GCF of both of these. So look at 6 and 2. The GCF of 6 and 2 is going to be 2. And the GCF of x squared and x to the first, remember we're always looking at the lower exponent value, is going to be x. So this is 2x here. That's our GCF. Now, it says write down your GCF, and we wrote it down on the outside, and then a set of parentheses right here. And I'm going to go ahead and start my third step here in this set of parentheses. I'm going to divide each of these terms by my GCF. Okay, so 6x squared divided by 2x, and 2x divided by 2x. So I'm going to bring down 2x here. And then 6x squared, 6 divided by 2 is going to be 3, and x squared divided by x, you can think of this as like 2 minus 1, or x times x over x, and 2 of your x's cancel out, and you're left with x squared, so x would go next to the 3. And then 2x divided by 2x, those are both going to cancel, so I'm left with just a 1. So anything divided by itself is just 1. So this is the factored form of this expression here. So 2x times 3x plus 1 is the factored form. All right, let's look at another example here. So this last example here, I just wanted you to factor it, okay? In this example, it wants us to solve, okay? So in order to solve, you have to make sure that each of these are set equal to 0. We're going to check to see if there's a GCF that can be factored out, then factor it, and then set each factor equal to 0, and then solve the equation. Okay, so for step 1 here, I'm going to make sure this is set equal to 0 instead of y. So I'll say 3x squared minus 27x is equal to 0. And now we're going to factor out a GCF. So the GCF of 3 and negative 27, the biggest number that goes into both, is 3. Now with the x squared and the x, the GCF of those is x. So our GCF is 3x. So 3 divided by 3 is 1. X squared divided by x to the first is x. Negative 27 divided by 3 is negative 9. And x divided by x, they just cancel out, so we are not going to write an x here. You can think of it as x to the 0, but we don't do that. We don't write it as x to the 0. So let me rewrite this without a 1 in front. So this should be 3x times x minus 9, and then that equals 0. Okay, so that is going to be 3x equals 0, and x minus 9 is equal to 0. And here I can divide by 3. So 0 divided by 3 is 0, and here I can add 9 to both sides, so I get x is equal to 9. So my two zeros, or my two solutions, are x equals 0 and x is equal to 9. All right, you have a couple U-tries that you can attempt, and other than that, I will see you in the next video.